Now let's talk about failure. It's often said no one ever lived without failing at something. And surprisingly, many have built a strong character from failure, and while others doesn't. So when one associates with such failures, it becomes a personal identity. So it is important to see how best one determines the role of failure in his or her identity. Perhaps you might have heard someone being described as a quitter, and you've perhaps heard an instances where someone is being described as someone who rarely quit. So that's an identity, and in one way or the other, those identities, two identities, originates or emanates from failure. So in instances where one succumbs to failure, most especially in every categories of life, in every instances, then such person is by default, in one way or the other, altering his or her identity. Let's take, for instance, he doesn't like being referred to as a failure, or he doesn't like being associated with failure. But in instances where such one keeps recording failures in every instances without and perhaps quitting on everything without seeing how best he or she can actually achieve success in one way or the other, or work towards his or her desired goal. Let's assume every other resources and constraints are in place, then such ones might in one way or the other be associating or be altering his or her identity. So you want to ask yourself, what identity do you associate with in relation to failure? And see how best you ensure failure doesn't alter your desired personal identity.